Hello, it's Classy here back with another Tribes video, and today the Alliance Team Battle event begun, so I'll be doing a full guide on that. And first off, Alliance Team Battle is basically just a 7-day event where you and your Alliance members work together to take on bosses, and by damaging them, defeating them, you can earn a lot of good rewards. So you go into this panel here on the main screen, and it will bring you to the page. So far, the bosses have all been Akatsuki members. So as you can see, some of the new Akatsuki members have been added. And here's our alliance with the current points and current ranking. So you're going to have to vote for a time slot. And we haven't actually started yet. We're starting in like 1.5 hours. But before you start, you have to go into the preparation phase. So here you can see the Science Ninja tool upgrades and the voting. So for voting, the way it works is the unit that is most voted for will provide 100% tribe gauge to your team at the start of the battle. The second most voted for unit will provide 80%, and the third 50%. And this is very important because, as we will see later, tribes are the way to go for this event to do the most damage. So here are all the different units that are bosses, and you want to take down as many as you can. Obviously, the SRs are going to be easier. So if you can click on them, you can see their HP and stats and stuff, and the voting. Before we begin, you obviously want to upgrade your Science Ninja tools as much as possible. So you unlock upgrades by spending stamina, or you can just spend Shinobi coins if you want to buy more. And the best way to do these upgrades is focus on the tribe special damage, because that's the main source of damage for all teams. Tactical and attack Shinobi is important as well. For lower level alliances, you might have to do a little bit of speed, but only do as much as you need to outspeed the opponent. But besides that, you can also upgrade tribe special bonus damage, because there are specific bonus tribes. And by that, basically every event, they'll choose a few tribes that will gain bonus stats. So you can use those if you have them. Now for voting, if you actually click on the units, you can check out their link bonuses. So as you can see, there's attack, defense, sturdy, which is basically guard rate, and all these other stats. And the main ones to go for are the SRs first, because they're easy to take down. But SR-wise, you want to take down Kakuzu because he has the plus 20% guard rate, Sasori for plus 20% defense, and that will soften everybody else up. Once the SRs are done, you can focus on the damage reduction rate units. So these two will be pretty hard, but it's good to just pick one and try to finish them off, because that will reduce the remaining bosses' damage reduction rate, so you can do a lot more damage. That's basically it for now. Now we can move on to team building and how the actual battles work. So if we go to the team building page on the website, you can see the 3 cells for spirit and energy. And this ATB event is similar to FG in a certain way, that you have a limited amount of turns to do as much damage as possible. So you have 7 turns instead of 5, and it will always be 4 spirit energy. So force will actually be able to go 3 times, because it will be the remaining cell left over on turn 7. And that's why when you're using a tribe, you want to put in force when you start with 100% tribe gauge, because you'll be able to use the tribe on turn 1, and that's very good. Now for energy, you kind of want to put your support units in there, which we'll talk about soon. And the support units are important because they buff up the units that are in your tribe. And when the units in your tribe are buffed, the tribe's damage will be buffed overall. So that would just do more damage every single time. And the tribe can also buff the units themselves as well. So you'll be stacking damage over 7 turns. For spirit, you want to put your tribe gauge booster the 100% strategy. And the tribe gauge booster is a unit that can increase tribe gauge on skill 2 or jutsu. You also want Sai to give people chakra. And you can add another booster in Spirit as well. But overall, the focus is not on nuking characters, but it's focused on buffing the tribe and then using the tribe 3 times in 7 turns. For the 80% strategy, where you start with 80% tribe gauge, you obviously can't put the tribe in force anymore because you can't use it on turn 1. So you can use it in Spirit instead for turn 2. And if you actually add 2 tribe gauge boosters in energy this time, while keeping some of your other buffers inside force, you will be able to increase the tribe gauge gain, and eventually you can still tribe 3 times in 7 turns. But for the 80% strategy, you might need some CC for the opponent so that they don't kill off your units if they can do that damage, or so that they can't use the jutsu where they buff themselves defensively. And you can use like a stun, or you can even consider a chakra stealer in force. So that's basically the general idea. Now we're going to move on to the characters themselves. So here's a quick tier list maker. And for the must-use, we put Sai and KCM. So these 2 are units that you must put in your team because they're so good. Sai especially because the chakra gain is important for all of your support units to use their jutsus and then apply all of their buffs for your team. And KCM is just a really good buffer. He buffs so many different offensive stats and defensive so that your tribe will do a lot of damage. So that's why you need to use these 2. For debuff support, it's really good to have at least one. It's a must-have to have at least one of them. So we have Shikamaru and Shikadai, and it's cool because they're father and son, and they do a lot of good debuffs on the enemy. Keep in mind that there's only one target for ATB at a time because you're picking a battle against one of the bosses. So that's why these debuffers are so good, just because there's only one target. So all the debuffs will be on that target, and they can stack, they might not stack, it depends on the effects. But overall, you want to use at least one of these 2. Now, the S, A, and B are support units. So these are the buffers that I've been talking about. The tribe gauge boosters, we have 4 of them. So Jiraiya is usually the best one to use because he can also give some buffs to T units. And that's important because there are going to be a lot of T units used in these teams overall. And tribes also contain T units sometimes. Sakura Blossom is also great, although her jutsu will do healing instead of damage, but that can still be useful sometimes to keep your team healthy and defensive. There are 2 more, so we have Hashirama. He does his job, but there are better options instead of him, but he can still provide some kind of attack and defense support. Then we have Choji, who does his job as well. But keep in mind that on turn 2, for Sakura Blossom and Choji, you will need to actually activate their skill 2s, and I'll show you why. It's basically because they can't jutsu right away on turn 2, even with Sai, while Jiraiya can because of his vitality. So for them, you need to proc the skill 2, and you have to reset if you don't get it, or else you won't be able to tribe 3 times. Now, if we go to Hashirama, his skill 2 is not able to do that, so that's why it's a little bit sketchy for him, and he also might not have enough chakra by then. So you probably want to focus on either Jiraiya or the 2 that give you a tribe gauge with their skill 2. Now for the S tier buffers, we're going to start off with T Datara. So he is a unit that provides a lot of crit support, and crit support is important because it allows the tribe to have crits and extra critical damage, and that would just increase the damage by a ton because of just how the critical multipliers work. Mei is in a similar situation where she can provide a lot of crit support as well. Tigara provides damage increase rate support, so this is going to be more consistent, but it's basically just increasing the damage that your units can provide when they're tribing, and it's not really critical based. Finally, we also have Tobirama, who is a newer unit. He also provides crit support, and especially if you're fighting a T-type opponent, he can heavily debuff them and break through their defenses easily. So that's why he's really good as well. I'm obviously not sharing like all of their stats and stuff. You can definitely look them up. I'm just giving some basics for each unit. Now we have Nagato. He and Kid Kakashi share a similar effect with their fourth skill, where every time you're faster than the opponent's cell, which is always for ATB, or it should be always, he'll be giving offensive buffs. So same for Kid Kakashi. I believe damage increase rate and critical rate, I think they're a little bit different, but you can go to the database if you want. So yeah, Nagato can do critical rate, critical damage increase rate, guard suppression rate. Kid Kakashi does damage increase rate. And critical rate. So yeah, that's why Nagato slightly edges past them, but I'm not necessarily doing these in full order. I'm just doing them by tier. Also, we're going to have T Kisame, also with some crit support on Jutsu, I believe, and some other effects. We have Yor Boruto for damage increase rate. We have A Narukage, also with some damage increase rate, some attack. There's just, like, it's usually the same stats overall that are being increased, but the reason that we put the units in these tiers is because of their specific numbers, which we've looked into during research, and also just like how long the effect lasts and stuff like that. So by we, I'm referring to the team building school, who play a big role in creating the tier list. So yeah, some of these characters will obviously have higher numbers than others for specific stats, so that's why they're in a higher position on the tier list. Now we have these 7 characters who are in the B tier. So Tenten is actually underrated just because she's a rare and people are like, yeah, don't use her. She really doesn't have any showtime in anime anyways, or she doesn't have any screen time in anime anyways, but she can actually do some pretty good attack buffs. But again, this is the B tier at this point, so you really don't really want to use these characters if you don't have to. They're just better options, and considering that you have 3 slots on your team dedicated to the tribe, 1 to Sai, 1 to Shikamaru or Shikadai, you probably don't even have space for the B tier characters. Also, we have CM2, who has a similar effect to Nagato and Kid Kakashi, where your cell goes first and gets a buff from him. He can also do good damage because he's a pretty good nuker. We have Criminal Itachi, who, although is like, he used to be one of the strongest units just like through PvP for all of his buffs and stuff, but at this point they're just other characters that can do his buffs better in specific areas, so he's more of like a jack of all trades kind of unit, and that's why he's not going to be as good in modes like this where you just need specific buffs. Okay, besides Criminal, we have Kid Sasuke. He can give some chakra, he can debuff the enemy a little bit. He can also give some attack boost, I think, but overall not going to be as impactful. We also have Kiba, similar situation to the attacking first ability, just not as good as the other ones. Haku and Tamari are more focused on debuffs, but specifically not too good. You can definitely use better debuffers, but sometimes, you might be a newer player, you don't have all of the URs and stuff or the older units, so you need to sub them in. So that's basically it. Tier list is pretty balanced and has a good distribution, so it looks pretty good. Now we're going to move on to a quick example team. So for tribe, actually, there are a lot of different tribes you can use, but there are specifically a few best ones just because of the effects where they boost the unit's attack or some other damage stat, so it can stack really nicely. So let's see, category 3 person. For example, one of the most commonly used tribes is this one, the Power of Team 7 Reborn, because it's really easy to get these characters up and you already have them because they're basically the free characters, right? And as I said before, if you upgrade your character's offensive stats, so like you level them up, you upgrade their skills, specific gear, promoting them, it will just increase the damage of the tribe. But you also want to upgrade the tribe itself with your Ninja Rule tournament coins and stuff. You can do that in game. So for example, let's just take level 1. This tribe just does damage, it can burn, heavily wound. It's pretty useful, but the main one is that it boosts attack by 45% for the user and all allies in the same 3-man cell. So basically, it will buff the characters that are performing the tribe permanently. Then you can buff again the next time you use it, and that's why this strategy works, just because you have multiple chances to use the tribe and keep buffing it up. Even though this is the most commonly used one, it's not necessarily the best one. You can also use, let's see, like these are usable as well. A lot of the 3-man tribes that do like the single target damage and have some kind of buffs for the characters is pretty good. This one is really good, Connected Feelings, but it does require 2 URs, so it might be harder to upgrade the damage or get the characters, but it boosts all active allies attack by 25%, damage increase rate by 50%, and critical rate by 35% for the rest of the battle. So that's why it's just so good. Just even more stacking effects. But yeah, let's just take Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki as the tribe, for example, just because it's more common for all players. We have to be inclusive. So we have Sai, we want to put him. Now, if we have KCM, that's going to be really good. So I'm just going to take like that best case scenario and just put the KCM here. So we have KCM, Sai, and then we want the tribe gauge booster in this slot. So we can put Jiraiya as the best case scenario. If I can find him. Here he is. So put Jiraiya here. Now for the debuffer support, we could use Shikadai or Shikamaru. I might be a little bit salty about Shikadai, so I won't use him right now. And my Shikamaru is really buffed, so that's why I put Shikamaru here. And now for these last 2 slots, we can put your support units. So there are so many different options, but I think I'm going to use T Datara. And let's see. I personally don't have Mei right now. If you have Mei, you can put her there. If you have Tigara, you can put her there. You can Tobi Rama, etc. So I'll just put Mei there for now. And that's a ton of critical damage increase and critical rate. So lots of good damage will be outputted using this team. This is a very simple sample team for the 100% tribe strat, remember? Because of the force placement of the tribe. And I already talked about the other strat earlier in the video. So that's basically about it. Hopefully this video helps you guys build teams and strategies, get your tribe mates, and get your alliance mates ready for battle. Try to share this with your alliance members if you can. Hope you guys enjoyed, and good luck.